All right, so think about this for a second. When you're trying to buy like a new car and you're thinking about all the different things, right? You want something with enough boot space for like a weekend trip, good fuel efficiency for that daily commute, and of course, all the cool tech features inside.
Absolutely.
Or maybe you're even looking at getting a new laptop and you're thinking about RAM for speed storage space for, all your files.
Yeah.
And you want a nice crisp display. There's just so many different things that you have to consider and compare.
It is a constant process of, evaluation based on various criteria.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder, right? Like in the world of supply chains,
right,
which is this massively complex system of how companies actually get their products to us.
Yeah.
Is there a similar kind of like a master checklist or something? A way to really compare how different organizations manage these intricate networks.
Right.
And to see, who's doing what really well and ultimately how everyone can kind of up their game.
Yeah.
Is there a core set of criteria to measure something this huge and this intricate?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Like, how do you bring order and enable meaningful comparisons within such a sprawling and often unseen system?
Well, that's exactly what we're diving deep into today.
Right.
We're going to be exploring something called the SCOR model. SCOR.
The Supply Chain Operations Reference Model.
That's right.
It might sound a bit technical, I know.
Yeah.
But it's really a foundational framework in the world of supply chain management.
Okay.
So think of it as a blueprint.
Okay.
Not for a physical product, but for how a business operates its supply chain.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so for you, the listener, think of this as your express route.
Yeah.
To gaining a solid understanding of how businesses tackle this fundamental challenge of getting goods from where they're made to where they need to be.
Right.
And doing it efficiently.
Exactly.
So no matter your background, this deep dive will equip you with a framework for understanding what really makes a supply chain work or not work.
And what makes a supply chain truly great.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so our mission today is to take the mystery out of this model.
Absolutely.
We're going to break down its definition and its key characteristics, explore the essential processes it outlines, highlight the crucial performance indicators it tracks. Those are the KPIs.
Yes, the vital signs of the supply chain's health.
Exactly. And we'll also weigh its advantages and disadvantages.
Of course.
And ultimately understand the kind of improvements it can help drive.
Sounds good.
So let's get right to it. What exactly is the SCOR model?
So at its core, the SCOR model is what's known as a process reference model.
Okay.
It came about in 1996, developed by the Supply Chain Council, which has since become part of KPIs, now known as ASCM.
Got it.
Now, the crucial thing to understand here is that it was designed as a cross-industry standard. So it's a diagnostic tool that companies across diverse sectors can employ to gain a clear understanding of their supply chain management practices.
So it's like a universal translator for supply chains.
Precisely.
I like that.
A key aspect of it is that it standardizes processes.
Okay.
It establishes a common set of definitions and terminology. This allows companies, even those in vastly different industries, to have a shared understanding of various supply chain activities.
That makes sense.
And perhaps more importantly, it establishes a measurable way to track the outcomes of these processes.
So it's not just about describing what you do, but also about measuring how effectively you do it.
Exactly.
Okay.
By applying the STU model, businesses can assess the maturity of their own supply chain processes. They can gain a much clearer picture of how advanced their practices are.
Okay.
And crucially, how well these practices align with their overarching business goals.
So it's about ensuring that the supply chain isn't just functioning, but functioning in a way that actively supports the company's strategic objectives.
Precisely, it's about alignment.
Okay, so it's a tool to help bridge the gap between the daily grind of operations and that bigger strategic vision.
Absolutely. The model integrates fundamental business concepts like measurement benchmarking, which is essentially comparing your performance against others.
Right.
And process reengineering. It offers a structured lens through which to view the entire supply chain and pinpoint areas ripe for improvement.
I like that.
And to make those comparisons meaningful, it relies on those standardized metrics. Initially, it looked at things like how efficiently transportation assets were being used and how well companies were adhering to regulations as key areas.
So a consistent framework with measurable metrics.
Right.
Now, what are the actual working parts of this model? What are the core processes that it defines?
So the SCOR model originally identified 5 core processes.
Okay.
And more recently, a 6th has been added.
I think of these as the essential stages in any supply chain's journey.
Okay.
They are plan, source, make, deliver, return, and now enable.
Okay, let's dive into each of those.
Sure.
Starting with plan.
Okay.
What's the essence of that process?
Plan is truly the guiding intelligence for all the other processes.
Right.
It's about crafting a strategy for how you will meet anticipated demand.
Okay.
And effectively manage all the necessary resources across the entire supply chain.
So it's a layer that's relevant to every other process.
Yes, it is. It's relevant across all the other processes.
Okay.
Consider it in terms of orchestrating your resources.
Right.
That includes materials, labor production, capacity transportation, absolutely everything required
Wow.
for the supply chain to function smoothly.
So planning in this context isn't just about forecasting.
Right.
It's the proactive orchestration of all supply chain resources.
It is.
Turning potential chaos into a competitive advantage.
Exactly.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So it's like the conductor of the entire supply chain orchestra.
Precisely.
Nice.
It directly connects to that initial flow we talked about, demand planning, trying to predict what customers will want, and supply planning, figuring out how you'll actually meet that predicted demand.
Okay.
The key players involved here are demand planners who analyze and forecast customer needs, and supply planners who determine the best way to fulfill those needs.
Got it. Plan is the strategic roadmap.
Yes.
What's the next critical step?
Next up is source.
Okay.
This describes the entire infrastructure for obtaining the materials you need.
All right.
It encompasses how you manage your inventory levels, your network of suppliers, the contractual agreements you have in place, and how you monitor their performance.
So source is really about building a reliable foundation of supply.
It is.
Going beyond just buying stuff
to
strategically managing your entire supplier ecosystem.
Exactly.
So it's about identifying the right partners and ensuring a steady flow of what you need.
It's more comprehensive than just placing an order.
Okay.
Source also includes the processes for handling supplier payments and the critical steps of receiving, verifying, and transferring the products once they arrive at your facilities.
Right.
Key activities include identifying and selecting the most suitable suppliers, negotiating favorable contracts, the actual act of placing purchase orders, all the purchasing and procurement tasks, and then the ongoing management of your relationships with those suppliers.
So making sure those partnerships are robust and mutually beneficial.
Exactly.
This directly links back to our initial discussion about procurement or sourcing directly involving your suppliers and the crucial work of buyers or purchasers.
It does.
Okay, we've laid out the plan. We've secured our resources.
All right.
What's the next gear in the chain?
That would be make. This is where the actual magic happens. Taking those raw materials and transforming them into the finished products that will eventually reach the customer.
The manufacturing and production phase.
Precisely. The activities involved here include production planning, deciding what to produce and when production scheduling, creating the detailed timeline for manufacturing, and of course, quality control, ensuring the final products meet the required standards of quality.
Right.
Now, the SCOR model also takes into account different manufacturing environments.
Okay.
Within this, make process, such as make to order, where production only begins after an order is received.
Okay.
Make to stock, where products are manufactured based on forecasted demand.
Right.
And held in inventory and engineer to order, which involves highly customized production.
Got it.
Make also includes managing your production network, the equipment and facilities you utilize, and even the transportation of materials within the production process itself.
So this connects directly to the manufacturing aspect of our initial flow involving production planners, schedulers, and inventory planners.
It does.
Right. So we've got a plan, we've got our materials, we've made the product. Now it needs to get into the hands of the customer.
Yeah.
That's where deliver comes in.
Exactly. Deliver is all about the journey of those finished goods to the customer. This encompasses a wide array of activities, starting with transportation planning, determining the most efficient way to move the goods, defining optimal routes and delivery schedules, managing customer orders from the moment they are placed until they are fulfilled, warehousing the finished products until they are needed, and ultimately generating invoices for the customer once they've received their order.
So this directly relates to the warehousing, transportation, and overall logistics aspects we discussed earlier, involving transportation planners, warehousing executives, and logistics planners.
It does.
Okay, the product is with the customer.
Right.
Ideally, everything is perfect, but sometimes things don't go as planned.
Of course.
That's where return steps in.
Yes. Return focuses on the crucial process of handling returned items and managing the entire reverse logistics flow. This could be for products that are defective or perhaps excess inventory that a customer no longer requires. The key activities here involve efficiently processing those returns and managing all the complexities of reverse logistics,
Right.
getting those goods back into the supply chain, whether for repair, resale, or environmentally responsible disposal.
So this links directly to the return activities in our initial flow, often involving customer service and sales representatives with crucial support from the broader supply chain management team.
It does.
And the last one, the more recent addition, is enable.
Yes.
What does that actually entail?
Enable is a bit different from the others.
Okay.
It functions more as a supportive layer, encompassing all the overarching processes that underpin and facilitate the smooth operation of the other 5 core processes.
Right.
This includes establishing the business rules and policies that govern the supply chain, managing the necessary facilities, the crucial task of collecting and analyzing performance data, managing all the required resources, both human capital and technology infrastructure, handling contracts and agreements, ensuring compliance with all relevant regulations, and proactively managing risks throughout the entire supply chain.
Wow.
It's truly the foundational layer that allows the other processes to function effectively.
Okay, so you can think of it as the essential support system for overall supply chain management.
Exactly.
All right, so we've laid out the 6 core processes.
Yeah.
Plan, source, make, deliver, return, and enable. Now, how do you actually gauge how well a company is performing across these areas? That's where key performance indicators, KPIs, come into play, right?
Precisely.
So these KPIs are the vital signs of the supply chain's health.
Exactly. The SCOR model provides a standardized and well-defined set of rules for measuring KPIs across various industries.
Okay.
This standardization is what allows for that crucial benchmarking we talked about earlier.
Right.
There's a wide range of KPIs encompassed by the model, but let's highlight a few examples to give you a clear picture. A really important one is perfect customer order fulfillment.
Okay.
This measures how effectively you're meeting your customer commitments.
Okay.
Are their orders complete, delivered on time, and in perfect condition?
Makes total sense.
Yeah,
Ultimately, it's about keeping the customer satisfied.
it is.
What are some other key indicators?
Then there's perfect supplier order fulfillment, which looks at the same concept but from the opposite perspective.
Okay.
How well are your suppliers meeting your needs? Are their deliveries on time and complete?
Right.
We also have perfect return order fulfillment, which measures the efficiency and effectiveness of handling those return materials, whether they're coming back from a customer or a supplier.
Okay.
So it covers the entire loop.
So it provides a holistic view.
Exactly. Another crucial KPI is order fulfillment cycle time,
Okay.
which is essentially the lead time, how long it takes to fulfill a customer's order from the moment they place it.
Right.
Then there's supply chain agility,
Okay.
which is a fascinating one. It measures how quickly and effectively your supply chain can adapt and respond to unexpected disruptions or changes,
Like what?
like a sudden surge in demand,
Oh,
a critical supplier facing issues,
right.
or even larger events like a strike or a natural disaster such as a flood.
Wow. Supply chain agility. That sounds absolutely critical in today's unpredictable world.
It is, agility is critical in today's volatile environment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
On the financial side,
Right.
we have total supply chain management cost, which encompasses all the expenses associated with running the supply chain,
So that's including...
including the cost of acquiring materials,
Okay.
holding inventory, labor costs, and all other related expenditures.
Okay.
A model also considers returns on investment, looking at metrics like return on fixed assets and return on working capital.
Okay.
How efficiently are you utilizing your resources?
Those are all fundamental business metrics.
Yeah.
Does this XCR model also take into account anything beyond just pure efficiency and cost?
Yes, it increasingly does.
Okay.
The SCOR model is evolving to incorporate metrics related to sustainability and social responsibility.
Interesting.
For instance, it might track the types of materials used,
Okay.
looking at the proportion of renewable versus non-renewable materials in manufacturing processes, packaging and transportation.
Right.
It also considers energy consumption,
Okay.
including electricity usage and fuel consumption, water consumption,
Okay.
and the level of emissions generated, particularly CO2 emissions.
Right.
Even the amount of waste generated from manufacturing and logistics operations is a relevant KPI.
It's encouraging to see that broader perspective being integrated.
Yeah.
And does it extend even to the human element within the supply chain?
It does. The SCOR model also includes KPIs around diversity and inclusion.
Okay.
Examining aspects like gender balance, age distribution, and other diversity indicators within the supply chain workforce.
Yeah.
It can also track wage levels, the compensation of supply chain staff, and trainings measuring the number of training hours completed or the development of new skills among supply chain professionals.
So it's a truly comprehensive set of metrics, spanning everything from core operational efficiency to broader societal impacts.
Absolutely.
Now, what are the major advantages for a company that decides to adopt the SCOR model?
Okay.
Why would an organization invest the time and resources in implementing it?
There are several significant advantages.
Okay.
Firstly, as we've touched on, it provides a common language and platform across the entire industry by offering a systematic approach to evaluate and improve supply chain operations.
Yeah.
It fosters a much deeper understanding within an organization and helps clearly identify the specific areas that require attention and improvement.
So everyone's on the same page, speaking the same supply chain language,
Yeah.
which can be incredibly powerful for alignment.
Exactly. It breaks down internal silos and promotes better communication.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Secondly,
It facilitates comparative analysis through benchmarking.
companies can compare their performance against anonymized industry data, identify best practices that leading organizations are successfully employing, and then explore opportunities to adapt those winning strategies for their own benefit.
So it's about learning from the best in your field to elevate your own performance.
Precisely, benchmarking through SCOR isn't just about seeing who's winning.
Okay.
It's about identifying specific proven strategies you can adapt to leapfrog your current performance.
Learning from the leaders to accelerate your own progress, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Thirdly,
By rigorously analyzing and improving their supply chain operations, using the SCOR model, organizations can often achieve improved performance and competitive advantage.
Right.
This can translate into significant gains in efficiency, enhanced effectiveness, and substantial cost savings.
Right.
Ultimately, a more optimized and responsive supply chain makes an organization more competitive and significantly better at meeting the evolving needs of their customers.
Becoming more streamlined and saving money, a compelling combination.
Absolutely.
And finally,
the SCOR model fosters much better coordination and communication. Because it provides a shared framework for understanding complex supply chain concepts, strategic decisions, and operational strategies. It significantly improves communication and coordination, not only across different departments within a company, but also with external partners such as key suppliers and valued customers.
So it helps to break down those internal silos we mentioned and foster stronger collaboration both inside and outside the organization.
Precisely.
Sounds like a wealth of benefits.
Yeah.
But are there any potential downsides to adopting the SCOR model?
Yes. As with any comprehensive and sophisticated framework, it does come with its potential disadvantages.
Okay, what are they?
The primary challenge often lies in its inherent complexity.
Okay.
The SCOR model is incredibly detailed and extensive, encompassing a vast number of processes, activities, and potential metrics. This sheer depth can make it quite complex to fully understand and implement effectively within an organization.
Yeah.
It often necessitates a significant investment of resources,
Okay.
requires specialized skills and expertise, and can take a considerable amount of time for full and successful adoption.
Given that complexity, are there any specific strategies companies use to make the implementation more manageable, perhaps starting with a specific area?
Yeah, definitely not a quick fix you can just roll out overnight.
Okay.
The initial complexity can indeed be a barrier, particularly for smaller organizations that might lack the dedicated resources or the deep expertise needed for a full-scale implementation from the outset.
Right.
It's something that often requires a phased approach, starting with a focused area of the supply chain and a strong commitment from leadership across the entire organization.
That makes sense. It sounds like a powerful and valuable tool,
Yeah.
but one that requires a significant and thoughtful investment to leverage effectively. Now, I recall seeing something about SCOR model maturity levels.
Yes.
What's the idea behind those?
The maturity levels provide a structured way to assess how sophisticated and effective a company's supply chain practices are in relation to the best practices defined within the SCOR model framework.
Got it.
There are typically 3 broad levels that organizations are categorized into.
Okay, what defines the highest level of maturity?
The highest level is characterized by best practices.
Right.
These are innovative and consistently repeatable practices that have been rigorously proven to generate a significant positive impact on overall supply chain performance.
Right.
They often represent cutting-edge approaches and a deep understanding of supply chain excellence.
So give me an example.
For instance, a company that has seamlessly integrated electronic data interchange EDI technology across its entire supplier network to fully automate the processing of purchase orders, leading to substantial efficiency gains and reduced errors, might be operating at this level in that specific process. So it truly represents the leading edge of supply chain management.
So it's about setting the benchmark for others to follow.
Exactly.
Okay, the next level down.
The next level down is common practices.
Right.
These are the practices that are widely adopted and utilized by a majority of companies or industries to effectively manage their core supply chain activities.
Okay.
They are generally recognized as sound and effective ways of operating.
So think of it as?
Think of it as the established and generally accepted standard way of operating within the field.
The reliable and proven methods of the industry.
Right. And the final level is poor practices.
Okay.
These are practices that tend to be ad hoc, inconsistent in their application, and often reactive in nature rather than proactive.
Right.
They generally lead to inefficiencies, higher operational costs, and ultimately lower overall performance of the supply chain.
Can you give me an example of that?
Sure, a company that still heavily relies on manual, paper-based processes for critical supply chain functions leading to frequent errors and delays might unfortunately fall into this category.
Okay, so it's a spectrum from reactive and inefficient to proactive and highly optimized.
Precisely.
And understanding these different maturity levels allows companies to not only identify where they currently stand in their supply chain journey, but also to set realistic and achievable goals for future progress.
Right.
As they adopt and more fully implement the principles of the SCOR model.
Exactly.
Okay, we've covered a huge amount of ground today.
We have.
So just to bring it all together.
Okay.
The SCOR model is this really comprehensive framework that provides standardized processes, clearly defined and measurable KPIs, and valuable benchmarking capabilities.
Right.
It's designed to help companies thoroughly understand, rigorously analyze, and ultimately drive significant improvements in their complex supply chain operation.
Exactly.
It essentially provides a common language and a structured approach for navigating the often turbulent waters of modern supply chains.
That's a really well-articulated and accurate summary. While its inherent complexity can present an initial hurdle, the potential advantages in terms of enhanced performance, improved efficiency, and ultimately gaining a significant competitive edge are substantial for those organizations that are truly committed to understanding and effectively utilizing its principles.
So considering the increasingly interconnected nature of global supply chains in today's world, it really makes you think, how might a standardized model like SCOR become even more critically important in effectively navigating future disruptions and ensuring the overall resilience of these vital networks? What specific aspects of the model, perhaps the emphasis on agility or the risk management components within Enabled, do you anticipate will be the most crucial in the years to come?
That's a truly insightful question to consider as we look ahead.
Okay.
Given the rising levels of global uncertainty and the increasing frequency of disruptions, the inherent ability to rapidly adapt and effectively respond to unexpected challenges, that core aspect of agility we discussed, alongside a proactive and comprehensive approach to identifying, assessing, and mitigating potential risks across the entire supply chain will undoubtedly be of paramount importance. The standardized language, consistent framework, and comparable metrics provided by the SCOR model can serve as a vital foundation for fostering enhanced collaboration and building that much-needed resilience across these deeply interconnected global networks.
Definitely a lot to think about.
There is.
And for you, the listener, even if your day-to-day doesn't directly involve managing complex supply chains, consider how these fundamental concepts of process optimization, performance measurement through KPIs, and the pursuit of greater efficiency might be applicable to your own field of work or areas of personal interest. The underlying principles often have surprising relevance across many different domains.
Absolutely. Gaining an understanding of how complex systems can be systematically analyzed and strategically improved through a structured approach. Like The SCOR model offers valuable insights and transferable skills that can be applied in a wide array of different contexts and industries.
Well, thanks for joining me today.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to all of you for listening.